Jameka Jefferies.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I just want to thank all of you. I want to thank Mr. Joe Davis for this opportunity to be here to meet my constituents, we the people of Hamden. And so in my introduction again, I am Jameka Jefferies, and I would like for you all to refer to me as a public servant because I'm not a politician, okay? Politicians care about the needs of special interests. They care about the needs of a party. But guess what? I feel as though we should put people over party. So, thank you. So when my neighbors came to my house and said, Jameka, we'd like for you to run. That was a year ago. And I said, well, what's going on? They said, the town is in a mess, the mayor doesn't care about us, and we can't fix it. But we believe that you have the mindset, the skill set, and the assets to help us. And if you get behind us, if you stand up and speak for us, we will back you and support you. So even though I'm a businesswoman that owns my own real estate brokerage firm here in town, even though I sell millions of dollars in real estate a year, and even though I've been an award-winning, sales development, business development entrepreneur for the last 30 years, the reason why I'm running you all is because I represent us, the people. No more party, no more politicians, but people coming together to bring this town back to the luster that it once had and also give it a vision for the future. I'm Jameka Jefferies, and I'd approve this message. Good morning, everyone, again. I know this is not a debate, but I've been hearing a lot of things that I feel are debatable. Case in point, when I first got into running in this race back in February, I met with the mayor. We were in a setting similar to this. And in that meeting, she was saying how she came up with 20 new businesses, and we got 20 new businesses coming into town. And when I went up to have my public comments, I say to her, Mayor, I would like to know what types of businesses you're referring to. Because we, the people of Hamden, do not want to see another smoke shop, another liquor store, okay, another cannabis shop, another nail salon. But we want to see Whole Foods, we want to see Trader Joe's, manufacturing, biotech, bioscience, and even AI technology companies come into this town. And if we be real honest, most of these folks here have already been in politics. And, they failed us. This administration and past administrations have failed us. I heard someone say that the town doesn't have money. But guess what? $200 million is what we pay in taxes to this town. In addition, we get additional money into our town from the state and the federal. One in particular is the $24 million in ARPA funds that no one can seem to find. So the first thing we have to do when I take office is we're going to do a forensic audit on every department in the town government center. And then we have to go to zero-based budgeting, which is where you throw out the good old boy status quo, keep rolling a budget into the next year and the next year, and instead we go in there with white gloves and say, what do you need in this department, okay? And what we will find is additional money. Because what I've discovered since I got in this race in February 18th when I made my announcement on those steps at the town hall, I found that after being in every legislative budget council meeting week after week after week, there was a woman in the 5th district named Rhonda Caldwell who kept calling people out week after week and asking the pertinent questions like, what's in the fund balance, okay? Questions like, what's in our operations account? And guess what? The person that paid himself $100,000 in overtime, the assistant finance director, couldn't provide those answers to us. They gave us 3 different numbers. And guess what, folks? Numbers don't lie, people lie. So we've been lied to. But this is why we have to take a more proactive approach. So what I plan to do is leverage my business contacts and my business banking knowledge that I've had. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies all my life, AT&T, Comcast, Bank of America, Citizens Bank even. And what I found has happened, you all, was that in our town government, we lack transparency, responsibility, and no one has any accountability. So one of the other things I want to do on day one is enforce an ethics commission, enforce an ethics committee. And I know there's one in existence, but guess what? Why do you have an ethics committee or commission that the mayor appoints the people on it? let me just say this, you all. When you want to increase the tax base, you bring in all those businesses that I aforementioned. But I want to tell you, I don't just tell you these things in theory. I'm telling you these things in practice. I actually sat down with Quinnipiac University several months ago. And the woman was telling me how they want to do tourism. And I mean, she said, Jameka, there's a project in the works. I'm going to tell you, but you can't tell anybody. So guys, I can't tell you. But she says to me, it involves tourism. You know, one of the things I'm going to do when I get in office is appoint an economic director of development, right? But not only an economic development director, I'm going to have an economic development task force that proactively goes out and calls to international businesses and calls to those local and national businesses. And guess what? We've already started. I already have folks lined up waiting to get to us. I've called Paul Robertson. I've had meetings with the Deputy Chief Economic Development Director of the state. Okay? And we've talked. And he said, Jameka, you know what? When you get in office, we got to have another meeting because I want to help funnel money from the state level into your town. The other thing that happened, you all, was when I went to meet Senator Martin Looney and George Cabrera and I think it was Senator State Rep Linehan. And they were all in a room. And I said, you guys, you know what? You all are supposed to be our state reps, but the people in Hamden don't feel represented. I said, there's $2.3 billion sitting in the state right now, okay, in undesignated funds, okay? Who's lobbying for the people in Hamden? Who's fighting for the people in Hamden? Who's bailing us out? And you know what I heard in response? Crickets. But I want you to know, when I take office, I want to look for the best and the brightest, brilliant minds right here in Hamden. And I want you to know some of them are in this room. Miss Katie Kiley, all right, who's a councilwoman at large. She went through 500 line items of budget. She found the $18 million, along with Rhonda Caldwell. And then we had yes, she did. And that does deserve a hand. And in one of those legislative council meetings, they said, oh my gosh, we got so excited in that meeting, guys, because they said, we found the money. We can do it. We can have $20 million in budget cuts because Mike Malone, who's the consultant that the town hired to discuss our rebound and explain it to us, he gave us scenarios. And he said, if you can find $20 million in budget cuts, we can get the mill rate down to 39. Now, 39, we haven't heard that number in years. Right now, we're sitting at 51.88. And we all started cheering in the audience. And you know what happened? Some other council person says, can you tell us more about that phase-in? That's how we arrived at that. And now we're at this, math, and that's why our bills were late, because they didn't even know how to calculate them. So what we're seeing, you all, is wasteful spending, misappropriation of funds. We're seeing willful blindness that took place. But I'm telling you, when I become mayor, that is all out the window. It's going to be an open door policy, and we're going to put systems in place to turn this town around. You want to talk about our school system? I heard some people touting about being on the Board of Ed 20 and 30 years. I remember a time, I grew up in East Rock in New Haven, and that was a great neighborhood. But guess what? Even people in East Rock, even people in New Haven wanted to move to Hamden because it was a place of promise, right? It was a place of prominence. Now you can't tell the difference between when Hamden stops and New Haven starts. You talk about blurred lines. I walked in Public Works the other week just to meet the gentleman, and they were sitting in there. I said, who's in charge of the potholes? Who's in charge? Okay? Oh, I got 30 seconds. But right now, you all, we rank 84th out of 120 schools. Okay? That's egregious. And it has to be stopped and it has to be fixed. How do we do it? How do we fix this broken school system? For one, I need a meeting with the CEO of the school system, all right? Which is the superintendent, to find out what his vision is. Listen, without a vision, the people will perish. But when I take office, we're going to be a town, again, that you will say to yourself, this is a place where we can thrive, flourish, live, and grow. We will be a Hamden that you can be proud to move into and not want to move out of. Thank you.